All right, so some of you guys have asked for help when it comes to how to make charts, simple charts, those kinds of things. So this will be going over that as well as tables and just general formatting. So I'm going to share this Excel sheet with you guys. It has some general model formatting best practice, but basically just make a new sheet down here and then start adding from there, is what I would advise you guys do. So I'm going to show you guys how to have multiple things, keep them all in one workbook so you can easily access all your data, and then also how to kind of go about visualizing data from Refinitiv. And there's two main ways you can go about doing that. So starting out over here, I just looked up Apple and then went to their financial summary. And as an example, I'm going to visualize revenue from business activities year over year. Typically, you want to have, if you're showing historical financials, you want to do it over the past 5 years. If you're doing like projected financials, you can do forecasted 5 years, those kinds of things. But make sure you title whatever it is you're visualizing so you remember, as well as your source. This is more for you. So I'm going to do Refinitiv and then revenue from, it's just revenue from business activities, but like revenue is revenue, um, year over year. Um, all right, so typically you want to do past 5 years. So let's do like 2021, sorry, let me, 2020 to 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. So what I could basically do, since you can't directly copy and paste from Refinitiv, I would essentially look through this. You can extend your number of periods that you show in your data by going over here. I have mine set to the auto last 10 years, so I can easily see the last 5 years. And then remember what you have your scaling at. So you want to kind of keep this the same if you're sourcing data from Refinitiv. I typically have mine in millions. So this would be revenue year over year, and then parentheses in millions. If you change any of these things, make sure to click Update View. If you have an international company, make sure you do US dollar, just to assure yourself of that. All right, so very simple. Since I can't copy and paste, I would just directly start typing these in. So I can see over here in 2020, we had 274 and then 515 and then 365, 817. Let's look over here. 394, 328, 383, 285, and then 391, 035. Cool. So as you can see, these are kind of all in number format. They're not in the right formatting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of this section here. I'm going to click Control and 1 or Command and 1 to get me to the master formatting kind of menu table. I'm going to go over here to accounting. I can do decimal 2. Here I don't want any decimal personally. I don't really think it's necessary, so I'm going to do 0 decimals, symbol at dollar, enter that in, and now I have all of this correctly formatted, and that's how it's going to reflect in my chart. So I can go ahead and select this, and then go over to the chart. So I'm going to show you guys using my mouse, and then I'll show you guys not using my mouse. So I can go over here, click recommended charts, or I can just immediately go into a certain type of chart. I like to go here because then it shows me default recommended chart. I can see kind of like what some of those might look like. I will say simple is better when it comes to your charts. So like you don't want something that's like super like at like this, this one's not even gonna work right now, or like a radar chart. Like you want to stick to things like the line chart, bar chart, things that like are very simple to understand over time. For example, a pie chart would not be good for this. I don't really think I need to like over elaborate on that, but let's say we go with a line chart. We can maybe do like, if I want to like emphasize certain years, I could do markers, but for the most part I'm going to probably do some sort of regular line chart. So this one does it with numbers. This one, as you can see over here, has it in like the monetary value. So I like this one, but I actually think it's better to do like the clustered column when you're doing these year over year, because you can see the growth more proportionally. All right, so now the question of how do I go about formatting this and making it look nice? Well, for one, your slides are going to have some sort of template. So let me actually see if I have this external fall. I can't even think. Spring. We'll do this. So as you can see over here, his color scheme tends to be like very blues and grays, those kinds of things. And I think his font is something like Calibri. I don't really know. You would know your own font of like what you're doing, but you want to keep everything within the same color scheme. So I have like this kind of color picker tool, but you can use whatever you would use to get the color. Pick color outside, color picker. I don't know. Okay, this changed. Um, in general, you'd probably start by picking your colors from the actual, like, starting out when first making your chart. It's just because I'm trying to match his. That's why I'm using the color picker. But let's just say we're picking our own and we're using something where, like, our theme is going to be around these colors. So I'm going to start by clicking on the actual data itself. And then he has a bit more of like this kind of dark blue color. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then when it comes to the text itself, so if I double click here, I can see text options and see all of those kinds of things. I'm going to click chart title, go over here to home, change this. So let's say we have Garamond is right now what I'm using. Change all of these to Garamond. And then change these as well. Make sure you do everything. Maybe you want to bold certain things. Maybe you want to bold like the years. And then change this chart title to be an accurate reflection. So we're going to do revenue year over year in millions, right? And then maybe you want to get rid of the lines in the back. I can double click lines in the back, delete those, erase those. So like that would look like this. Without that, make that maybe look a little cleaner if that like fits with your template. I think the biggest thing here is having no border to your actual document so that whenever you do paste it, so let's create a PowerPoint so you guys can see. Probably could have had one open. Let's see. Blank presentation. All right. Yeah, these are silly. Okay. It'll look a lot cleaner whenever you paste it, especially if you have like some sort of like white background. It has no border. That's like one thing. Additionally, changing your text so that it's black. Sometimes that's good. All right, so that's one bit. When it comes to like all of these other kinds of like fancy, like little like, you don't necessarily want that. The only one that I would maybe use is this one, where it's like still a little like conservative, I guess you could say. But I would stray away from any of like these like overly like graphic based ones. Like you want to not like you're thinking not Canva, you're thinking more like corporate and whatever. All right. So that's one bit. Another way that I could go about doing this is to go to Refinitiv, and then let's say I want a lot of the things that are going to be in this financial summary section, right? So let me change this. Save more options. Okay. All right, I'm waiting for it. Okay. So let's say I wanted a good amount of things from here. I could export it to an Excel file. So whenever you see this little sign, it means you can click it, export it to an Excel file. And I can click the different ones I want to export. So if you do too many of these, it'll maybe be too much. You could do them all at once. Maybe you want the income statement, the balance sheet, and the financial summary. So you can go ahead and do that, export. And then it'll auto download to my computer. So give it a second. All right. I can view it. It'll open itself up. I want to enable editing. This is to view all of my downloads. All right. And here I can see the financial summary, balance sheet, income statement. So what I can do here is go ahead and either A, like I want to keep everything separate for the most part so I can easily find things. So I'm going to do revenue year over year. And I'll have all my revenue related stuff probably in on this sheet. And then I'll do another sheet where let's say I want to show like debt to equity or whatever. Or like CapEx or something. So over here, what I would do is I would right click on with my mouse, and then I'll click move or copy. And then while I have this other like Excel workbook open, I can click to book, and then I can go to example, which is the one I just saved it as. And then I can do move to end or before or after a certain sheet, and then make sure to click create a copy. Or you can just move it entirely if you're not going to save the other one anyway. Click OK, and now it's over here. So now I have that over here. Now I have, let's see, move or copy, move to end, and then I forgot to change the book. Example, move to end, and then move or copy, example, move to end. So now I have everything still on one sheet. So if I were to go through, I can easily find this. You don't want to do work on this one because if you're looking at it, you can see it kind of takes up a lot of space. What you instead want to do is, let's say I want to look at CapEx and I want to create a graph for CapEx. Okay, well, I'm going to go through and find this. So capital expenditures, we're going to like essentially look for that within our sheet and then go about visualizing that. Or I don't feel like specifically we can kind of visualize our changes in PP&E, which is what we spend our CapEx on if we want to get maybe more specific. So we can go ahead and do that, I guess. So I could copy this over. Something to note is that it's actually in reverse years. So whenever you're visualizing something, you're doing it like 2022 to 2021, et cetera, et cetera. So if I'm copying that and then pasting this, if I'm copying that and then pasting this, it's important that I also go about copying the correct dates so that I can then recreate it and do 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and then kind of transpose these. You could do something called transpose as that's like a function, but just to keep it simple, I'm just going to essentially go about like copying these and bringing them down that way and making sure that they're in the right order and corresponding, sorry guys, corresponding to the, sorry, corresponding to the right things. Okay. So then I can visualize this in the same way. I do want to do something where it's like pie chart based. So let's say it's like by product, so revenue by product. So let's go to summary. Over here, it might have something like revenue by product. Let's see, valuation. Or I might have it by like section. Strung by. Yeah. Okay. We can see the revenue percentages by their business segments, which is what I mean by section. If I want to see revenue by product, they probably all have that in their earnings call, those kinds of things. So you can do here revenue by product. And then I would go about, or not product, but by like segment. And I can kind of break these down more and look more into this as well. So I can see like specifically how much is coming from Asia, Japan, year over year, and I can probably make a more detailed graph. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm probably just going to stick to like what's on here. And just for simplicity, I'm honestly just going to do like fake data, or it's fine actually. Americas, Europe, Greater China. This is to show you guys how to do like a specific type of pie chart. So here we have 42.72. we want to first set these beforehand or else it'll be kind of annoying. So we're doing Control-1, going to percentages. We'll do 2 decimal points, enter that in. See, now it's huge. So we want to do format that ahead of time, 42.72. And then we have 25.91. And then we have 17.12, 7.84, and then 6.41. All right, so I'm just going to resize this by clicking Alt-H-O-1. You could just resize them by moving them if you want to too. All right, so to visualize this, so this is revenue by product and also Refinitiv. Okay, gonna select this, and then you could go into insert and then look at the charts, or you could do Alt and then N and then R, and that'll take you to the same space. So different kinds of things you could do here. You could do something like this, like a funnel, showcasing where each of them comes from, or you could do, I think a pie chart is pretty effective. There are different kinds of pie charts. You could do something like this. This is if you're breaking it down into subsegments. And then you don't really want to do something like this. You want to stick to something either like this or like this. So let's go with this for now. And then I can even maybe go down here, do something where it's a little bit like more like this. You don't want to do any of these like overly graphic-y ones. Just kind of want to make it clean and professional. So that's kind of what we're shooting for there. So reminder, go through with Garamond and then make sure your colors are the same. So you can click specific colors here. So like if I double click this section, it'll let me edit this section, and then I can make, okay, this one's going to be dark blue. This one's going to be like red. This one's going to be like gray to match my theme. And I can add my theme colors as well, of course. So that's how you can go about doing that. White is probably not a smart choice. We'll do like a light blue. Also, you could click over here, add data labels, kind of do those best fit. You can also change the color of the data labels. So if you do inside end and then make them white, that'd be maybe a little bit more legible. You can even move them, so you can have certain ones in certain places. Just trying to make your graphics more legible, more easy to visualize. You can also move this. The best way to do that is by going over here and moving the legend to the right, top, left, bottom. Typically, I would stray from top, but that's up to you guys. Just make sure your font sizes and all those kinds of things are somewhat consistent. I like to go through and change my text to black because it'll automatically be gray, and I think black looks cleaner always. But that's just me. And then the most important thing, again, no line border. And then if your slide is not white, like the background of your slide is not white, I highly recommend, kind of regardless, to do no fill so that whenever you paste it onto your slides, it doesn't look poor. So like this looks a little cleaner. Let's say I had like a black background. It would be like easier to make it look cleaner instead of having to reformat all this stuff. Also, an important reason as to like why you guys are making it in PowerPoint. One, you're going to be actually working in PowerPoint in real life, but also your charts, as I edit them here, as I edit my data and I have both open, it will edit my PowerPoint. So like, let's say I change this to accounting. Now these are dollar values over here. Do you see that? So all of those kinds of things are really important when it comes to that. All right. So that's something to keep in mind there. Okay. In terms of tables, tables are so easy. What you don't want to do is format it as a table, believe it or not. What you instead want to do is just literally create a table. So I'm going to move this, by the way, up here. Okay. So let's say I do like key metrics. And then here I can put like 2024 financial year, like financial year 24 revenue. You could do like PE, you could do market cap, whatever. You can look at a bunch of the other pitch examples for that. You could have them all be in the same metric, so like billions, whatever. Or you could just leave it at key metrics and then here do like 1.3 billion, PE like 2.1, market cap like 50 billion, 50.73 billion, whatever, right? So as you can see, these are formatted a little bit differently. So what I would encourage you to do is use proper formatting for whenever you're using like text, and instead do 1.3, and then if you want to do like add the B for billions, click Control 1, go over here to custom, right? And then here where it says type, we're gonna do 0 and then parentheses, like this little like open apostrophe or open quotation marks. I don't know why yeah. And then B and quotation marks. Enter. So now this number is still 1.3, and I can actually like go through and like here, Alt H 0, Alt H 0, still play with this, still use this as an actual number, and it still has that B. So I could even go ahead, copy this, delete this, and then do 50.3, and then it'll automatically have the B. So that's something to kind of keep in mind there. HB, HOI. All right. Key metrics. So you want to center this across the row. So you're going to do Control 1. Control 1. And then you can do something called alignment up here. And then horizontal, you can do center across selection. And then if I had selected these two, so horizontal center across selection, enter that in, and that'll auto center it without it being merged across the two cells. So that way it doesn't like fuck up future formatting stuff. But you're gonna want to format, like you want to do the visual part of this here. So an example of a key metrics table, let's look for here. Did I open external spring? Yeah, like something like this, market profile, key metrics, whatever. Basically it's gonna be going through here, clicking this, going through playing with that, and then you can do like alternating colors, as like conditional formatting, or you could do like something like this. The thing about this is that you don't want the sort function. So then you'd have to go through and clear that as well. But you can also go through here and then do cell styles, and then maybe do like accent 2 and do them that way. And then have like these be like, I don't know, like this or whatever. The style of your table is up to you. Basically, it's just in here, and you manually enter these based off of like different sources. And you can have your sources over here to the side, or however you may choose, like market profile or something like that. All right. So the other thing is things like the price history chart. So pulling information from things that aren't like the Refinitiv, that section of Refinitiv, things that have a lot of data points. So price history, we can go over here. And then basically daily intervals. So you want the history. Maybe let's do over the last 2 years or 5 years. So I can go through and select this, and then let's say we do 2020. Currency conversion none. We'll update our view before we export it to Excel. Now we have all of our data points in terms of price history here. And then we can go download to Excel. So that might take a moment. It'll open it up an Excel file for us. All right, enable editing. It's a little bigger. We're gonna want to move this. Let's label it first. So price history Refinitiv, so that we know it's the OG data source. Then we're going to do mover copy so we can have our original data, and then take this into our other section, move to end. All right. So here, this isn't one of those that I would overly encourage you like put into a new sheet. Let's see. But I would basically you're taking the close price. So you're doing this is like basically your price. And then this is like date, basically. So you're only using these two columns. The rest of it you aren't necessarily super pivotal to your chart. What we're going to do is we're going to select this whole section. So shift and then click once to the right. This is where your key shortcuts are going to be very helpful. And then click Control Shift. While holding Control Shift, we're going to click our down arrow. That's going to select literally everything in this row. Or we can do it the opposite way. So navigating to the bottom and then clicking Shift right, and then holding Control and Shift and clicking up, and then letting go of Control so we can kind of focus on these two metrics, and we can keep date and price there. All right, so then we can go over to Insert, Recommended Charts, and then a line chart will probably be good. All right. You don't want to do anything like this. You don't want to do like an area chart. Like you just want typically like a line chart is best. Something clean like this. As you can see, this is really ugly and it looks kind of unprofessional, right? So whenever we were looking over here, you can see his price history chart has cleaner dates, right? And you can also do a certain chart like this. This would be more of like an area chart with like an outline done, which I can show you guys how to do that. But the way to change these dates is to change them over here. So I'm gonna click Control Shift and click down. So I select all my dates at once, right? Then I'm gonna click Control 1 to get me into my master formatter. I'm gonna go over here to the numbers section, date, and then I'm gonna choose the date that I want to have on here. So I'll probably do something like, you want to make sure you have the year in there since we have different years. So let's see, 2012. Every day is March 4th, so we don't need the actual day. So we can just do April 12th, March 12th. Like this one is the one you want for this type of chart. So like something like this, Mar/12, enter that in. And now we've changed it so that our dates are super clean, right? All right, so that would be how to do the price chart. Make sure you go through and make this look maybe a little cleaner. You can do something like this, and then make sure that like the fonts aren't corny. Garamond, I think, is a good one for me personally. And then over here, your price also isn't in the right formatting, so we're going to select that entire chart. Make sure you're not selecting the label. Control 1, and then we're going to go over here to currency, and then decimals. We don't really need decimals. Let's do 0 decimals for this one. And then now that's a lot cleaner. Go through and change this. So we can, right here, we're changing like specific data points. If we double click down into like a certain section, so we can maybe hit like a peak and then hit this peak and then make it a different color. Maybe something that stands out a bit more. Let's do like a yellow or something. I don't know. It's pretty deep in there. I need to like select like the one that's in the front. But let's say like you had like a more apparent peak than the ones that we have here. You could try to select a marker there and recolor it so that it stands out a bit more. Yeah, there's like a billion markers here. Like, yeah. It's not liking me right now because we have like too many data points, but in theory, like that's how you would go about doing it. You would double click on a certain section and recolor that to like highlight that point. You could also do it on actual PowerPoint. So let me go ahead and recolor this line. Let's do like green or the dark blue, make sure that fit with our theme that we were doing already, and go about doing that way as well. and then probably changing like my text font, etc., making it look a little cleaner. But that's how you would go about creating a price chart. And then let's say like, oh, my screen's frozen. Okay. Let's say I wanted to actually change this chart. I could do change chart type. Maybe do some sort of area chart like this, which is kind of like the one that Anthony had. And then I could change the inside of the like plot as well as the outside. So I could do it that way and then make these points on the outside like yellow or whatever. That looks pretty ugly, but you get my point. All right. So that's how you could go about doing things like that. And you can do that with a lot of things on Refinitiv. You could look at different types of anything that's like a chart, price history, price performance. You can probably export as long as you have that button there. All right. So that's that portion. That's showing you how to do the other chart. I'm trying to think. Oh, general slide formatting. Um, Here's what I would say about that. Basically, use rectangles and text boxes, and I think that's the best way to start. So like insert home. Let me make this bigger. Okay. Insert shapes. I don't like when it has like default text boxes. Do something like this. Title this like market like new acquisition strategy. I don't know. And then you could go about changing the formatting this way, or honestly, I would just make sure that like yours is the same throughout. Maybe you do like this outline. I don't know. Extend this. Create a text box underneath this that basically has like maybe like some bullets. Da 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 da. They're so annoying. Forget that they don't do the Shift 8. This probably would have a bit more text. I'm just trying to give you guys like the visual and then like and then maybe like one more bullet just for like length or whatever. I don't know. Then you would probably have like a chart next to that. And then this can even kind of like I don't really like these because they kind of overdo it. You can resize this. As you resize this, your chart will shift as well. So like it'll show more and less data as you stretch it, as opposed to like it becoming like when you stretch images and they become kind of ugly. It's not gonna do that because it's linked to Excel. So you can see already that that's like already looking a bit more professional, kind of like the ones that you guys saw, and this is like kind of all like a BS deck per se. All right. So, then you can do like another section over here, then like another section of text, that kind of stuff. Um, yeah. Basically, like the formatting, when in doubt, add rectangle headers, space things out that way. Think in like thirds and halves. So like half of the screen and then thirds. So like maybe something like this, where you have like text over here, and then you have like this section over here. Um, you probably would have like these labels differently for that. And then maybe you have like subsection over here. Or it probably wouldn't be this kind of chart, but like you want to limit a little bit of the text that you guys have. So just something to note there. You probably have more charts than not, but as you can see, it's really easy to kind of get it to start looking cleaner. It's just about like aligning things, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, um, that's pretty much it when it comes to the formatting. There's some more kind of ideas on like what type of charts do I use for what kind of slide in the doc I sent out. Um, but yeah, like I would definitely say play around with it. Worry about getting the formatting a lot cleaner towards the end. Just start getting some like charts and key information in that way. Okay, hopefully that's helpful to get you guys in a good spot going forward. All right. Um, yeah, and then the most important thing, of course, is to have everything in one sheet. So as you can see, I pulled my data from a bunch of different sources, but everything is in one sheet and everything is on like one sheet. So I could easily find, okay, I want to like review like my revenue by product, pull that again. I can find it here. Okay, market profile, I can add to it here. Those kinds of things. So yeah. That's pretty much it. Any questions, feel free to personally message me and I'll be sending you guys this sheet so you guys can have those colors already preset. All right. Best of luck, guys.